Ladies and gentlemen, the star of Politically Incorrect, Bill Maher. Bill's guest tonight, Michael Bolton. From VIP, Natalie Raitano. Comedian Cathy Ladman. And the O'Reilly Factor's Bill O'Reilly.
All righty, thank you very much, and Merry Christmas. It is officially the Christmas season because tonight at the White House they lit the Christmas tree, the national tree. The tree that they have, you know... Well, yeah, I know it's a little sad because Hillary, as we reported yesterday, it was in the news, she packed up yesterday. She's moving to New York. Apparently this is a bit of a split for the first couple. And the press were taken on a tour of the tree and the decorations in the White House, and it looked like the tree in the White House had her side and his side of the Christmas tree, because on his side the balls were in a vise. And you know, I'm kidding. Okay, well, now, the tree was not the only thing that was unveiled today. A statue was unveiled in South Carolina for Strom Thurmond, who turned 97 on Sunday. Senator Strom Thurmond. Yes, they unveiled this big 17-foot, 12-ton statue. A little sad because the statue of Strom was more recognizable before the unveiling when the sheet was on. You see, because... Now, speaking of politicians, Donald Trump is out here. Donald Trump, you know, who's considering jumping into the presidential race. Get this, this is a first in presidential election running. He had the press sanitize their hands. He passed out sanitizing lotion to the press because, you know, he famously does not like shaking hands. As for a politician, this is not good. He doesn't like shaking hands, but apparently by the women that he dates, he has no problem kissing babies. He just, because he dates young, oh, please, thank you for that faking. Okay. And finally, this was in the news, Stevie Wonder is apparently going to try to regain his eyesight. He was at the Kennedy Center on Tuesday night, and he said that he thinks there may be a microchip that they could implant that would restore his eyesight, which would be great because he'd be able to see for the first time the beauty of nature and people's faces and all the wonders of the world. On the downside, wait till he gets a look at what he has been wearing for the past 20 years. Okay. You want to see our panel? He is the host of the O'Reilly Factor, his very own show on the Fox News Channel at 8 o'clock nightly. Bill O'Reilly. Bill. Hey, Bill. Nice to see you. Thank you for coming on. She is a very funny comedian and star of the film What Planet Are You From? Opening early next year. Cathy Ladman. There you are. And also Frozen Times. Very funny movie. She is the multi-talented actress, singer, and dancer, and one of the fine stars of VIP, Natalie Raitano. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And one of the most popular entertainers in the world. He sold over 45 million albums. His new CD is timeless. Oh, yes, this has already worked for me. The Classics, Volume 2. I'm telling you, this works. Michael Bolton, ladies and gentlemen. I heard it work. Good to see you. Oh, it does. I heard that. Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let me read you your rights, because that is the big story in the news today. The Supreme Court is looking at the Miranda rights. Now, if you don't know what the Miranda rights are, you have not watched TV in about 30 years. Because, you know, if they overturn this, they're going to have to reshoot all those old Barnaby Jones and Mannixes and your show, probably, where you have to say you have the right to remain silent. You have the right to an attorney, okay? The Supreme Court is looking at whether this is constitutional, and they may get rid of it. My opinion is that if you're a citizen of this country, I don't think the police should have to tell you your rights. I think you should know them. Is that too much to ask of a citizen who has and enjoys these rights, that he know them without the cops doing the work for them?
First of all, their performance is always horrible. You know that? They never get behind it. They always just say, you have the right to remain silent. But do you know the Constitution? You don't know. You don't know all of your rights, Bill, do you?
Well, I'm not in trouble with the law that much, but...
Now I have to tell you.
Well, I mean, as a citizen, you should. Yes, I think I do. I took civics.
Yeah, but there's a lot to know. And besides, I mean, that's kind of unfair. That's like saying if you don't know this, you're under arrest, and you're going to screw it up because you don't know the rules, and we're going to get you. We're going to trick you.
I think the cops have so much power, and then when you're arrested, things really get out of control fast. Even in domestic disputes and all that, and everybody's wired. That serves to calm people down in the sense that the cop is saying, you have this right, you have that right. He's bringing down the tension of an arrest, and in that way, I think it serves a purpose. Should Americans know their rights? Yes. Are we dealing with the upper echelon grad school students who are being arrested? No. We're dealing with usually people who don't know anything. That's why they're being arrested.
And why should we subsidize that?
Well, we're not really subsidizing. It doesn't cost anything to read them their rights.
Wait a second. You're suggesting that everybody who's arrested doesn't know anything?
No, I'm suggesting that usually the people who are arrested aren't the pillars of society.
Oh, I see.
I don't know. Well, let's hope not.
Let's look at the pillars of society. And who do they turn out to be?
Well, they don't, you know, you can give them their rights too, but here, I just think it calms everything down.
It seems like to me it's giving a free pass to ignorance. And that is a big problem.
How does it give ignorance a free pass?
Because the cops are doing the work for you. The cops, of course, they shouldn't have to beat a confession out of you, obviously, but why do they have to tell you what you should know anyway?
Because that's what this country's about.
Is about the cops telling you what you should know?
Yes, Bill, that's exactly what I was saying.
It's about them beating it out of you, actually.
No, this country is about innocent until proven guilty.
What does this have to do with that?
Because it's about people having rights.
They have rights. That's not the issue. It's whether somebody should have to explain them to you.
Is that oh, come on, you think the Miranda rights are a real explanation?
Yes, they are.
I agree with this man over here.
I do too, actually, but
you
know, not necessarily because of whether they're a pillar or whether they're someone who is not extremely knowledgeable about their rights, but because in circumstances where there's a lot of intensity or there's not necessarily domestic violence, but any kind of violence or any kind of panic starts to happen and some intensity is going on, I think that maybe it's not too much to ask that someone says, I want you to be clear in this moment.
But
this
why
is what's
can't
going
they
on.
just say, okay, calm down, stop? Why does it have to be reading right?
It's more impact, though, if you have the right to remain silent. Then it's serious, rather than somebody saying, hey, calm down.
No, I mean, well...
You have a right to the attorney. Then, it's like, whoa, I'm in trouble now. What it does is it basically puts into context what's happening. You're being arrested.
They know they're being arrested.
But do they really know they're being arrested?
They know they're, of course they're being... Right. No, I have.
They're always crawling under the bed without their shirt on. They don't know.
We base everything in this society about along the lines of what the stupidest people might do and might misinterpret.
No, you're right. You're right. Everything in the society is dumbed down so that everybody gets a break.
There has to be a warning label on an electric fan, not to take it into the bathtub.
Absolutely right. Right.
Don't
put your mouth over the carburetor.
Right.
It's insane. But we bend over backwards. So once we convict these people, they don't have a whine.
But that's the point. These people have gotten off. Miranda. That's the whole point. He was a rapist, and they threw his thing out of court because they didn't read him his rights.
Right. But they did some other things to him that were over the line, so I understand. It just wasn't a verbal thing with him.
That was after he went to jail.
A plunger up the rectum is over the line.
Thank you, yes.
Not reading the rights, I don't think, is over the line.
What if you read the rights while you use the plunger? What happens?
Then you're really listening?
I'm sure it happens quite a bit.
Kind of
it's really sexy the way you say it, Michael. I'm sure you could sing.
Michael?
I don't know if they're going to be silent, though, during that.
Okay, we got to take a break. We can't be silent. We'll be right back. All right, we have had many discussions on this show where I have tried to explain the male psyche. What? Always to not much avail. And there was a story in the news the other day that I want to bring to light here on the show because I think it helps explain the psyche that I have, women accuse us of not getting it. They're right. But you don't get it either. Okay, case in point.
Really?
It's true. Listen to this. A group of Israeli teenagers went on a pilgrimage to the death camp at Auschwitz, okay?
Nice school trip.
Nice school trip. Well, they're Israelis,
No,
okay?
absolutely.
They should see this.
That was
Everybody
flipped. I
should see this to be
apologize.
reminded.
You're
Okay.
right.
They went there, solemnly did their thing. They went to the hotel at night and got a bunch of strippers, okay? And this is a big scandal in Israel now because they're saying, you know, what happened to the moral fiber of our teenagers that they could watch, they look at this horrible thing in the day and at night somehow turn it around and get a bunch of strippers to come to their hotel. I guess SpectraVision was out. And I think it just goes to show that men compartmentalize. It is just part of our nature, and the sooner you get used to the fact that we do that, the easier it will go.
I don't even think it's a matter of compartmentalizing necessarily. I think it's a matter of going through something seeing something that's rather unbelievable and devastating, and then needing to kind of blow out in the other direction.
It's like the way we men deal with things.
Wait a minute. Whatever happened to appropriate behavior? Now, I understand what you're
Yeah, what
saying.
happened to
the
it?
instinct of the man is to always do what the man wants to do, and strippers are usually men want to see him. The instinct, I understand. But where's the discipline in saying, you know, here's a concentration camp. We're not supposed to have strippers
They
here.
weren't in the concentration
or it's
camp.
outside, but they're in the
They're
area.
at the hotel.
We'll wait till we get back to Tel Aviv. Then we'll get them.
Oh, now we'll get
there.
Israeli
You know,
strippers.
we'll sublimate the instinct that
Come
Bill
on,
is right
Bill.
in identifying. Oh, wait, you're not going to
Bill.
tell me that going to Auschwitz in the daytime and then having strippers at nighttime is swell? You're going to tell me that?
Did I say swell? Did I say swell once? What I'm saying is that it's normal. People process things differently. People process tragedy,
I'm sorry, but I
trauma
didn't see
differently.
Schindler's List and run out to the Pussycat Lounge right after.
You did.
You waited a day.
I actually drove there. No, I'm kidding. No, but some people. I don't know if it meant any less, if it had less impact on
I
them.
think strippers is boring
I don't
anyway,
think
but that's
it's
what you
done-
got to do. That's what you got to do.
So would it be any different if they had gone out and just like gotten wasted at a club? Is that like
that
considered
better?
the same lack
It
of
would still be
respect?
inappropriate behavior.
It would be inappropriate.
Where you were.
But I don't
where
think
you were.
Should they stay home and like cry
Yes.
all night?
They should stay home and maybe read about what happened there.
But I think
Is that-
the point is that men
Whatever.
handle this
No
differently
way.
than women.
Wait a second. We don't
Men-
even know if they could have booked the strippers at a different time. Maybe that's the only time they were available. You know, you guys are very quick to
But
rush
do you
to
really
judgment.
think
You
a
are
woman?
judgmental.
Do you think a woman would do this? I don't.
Well, women-
I
no.
think men like do one activity, and the second it's over, they can do another one, and that bugs women a lot.
Bill,
wouldn't
I'm
wish
sorry,
that was
Bill,
the
I don't
case.
agree with you on that necessarily. I just
Neither
don't
do
agree with you
I.
on that.
Because
Because I think that women can shift gears as easily as men can. I just
Yep.
don't think we shift into quite the same gear. We don't. Personally, I really think.
Well, there were women on the field trip, correct?
Kind of boring.
Were there women on the field trip? I believe there were. Were there male strippers there?
No.
I don't think.
Yes,
No,
it
this
did
was
say. I'm sorry, it did say. It said there were male strippers there.
gosh,
I mean, I can't
Where's
imagine
the
that
millennium
visit
now?
not having impact. I mean, you go and you see it and you're there, and how can that not permanently have some kind of
I
impact?
visited Dachau when I was in Munich, and it was the odd. I felt numb. I really didn't feel anything, and for a while I thought, is there something wrong with me? I mean, these are my, these are probably people who are related to me were here, and I just didn't feel anything, and that's the way I processed it. It was something that took a long time for me, and these guys ordered strippers. That's what they did, I mean, it doesn't mean that they didn't absorb what was happening.
okay.
It may be inappropriate, but I think you got to see pictures first. You
Okay,
can't-
we got to take a commercial. Okay, one of the big issues on the scene today now is the homeless, because in New York City, Rudy Giuliani, the mayor there, as some people say, has declared war on the homeless. And what? You make
Not just saying that, declare war on the homeless. Can you pick a less qualified group to fight back? I mean, come on, these people don't have a home.
But they are fighting back. They're demonstrating. It's amazing, but you can actually be evicted when you're homeless because they're throwing them off where they live. And what?
Just the concept, you know, war on the homeless. We'll be back. You know, like pretty soon they'll want water. You know, they give them too much. You know, like a shelter for their families and their children. And
yes, and we're all sympathetic to people who don't have a home. On the other hand, I think what Mayor Giuliani is saying is that a civilized society cannot have its citizens being assaulted when they simply step out on the street. And you know very well that very often what you're buying when you give money to the homeless is their absence. You're saying, here, take $1, go away so I don't have to smell urine, and so little animals that are in your hair don't crawl on me. And I think that that's not unreasonable.
Yeah, but still, at the same time, what's it going to hurt? I mean, if you don't give him the $1, if you don't give them the $1, I mean, I feel like if it's that moment, it'll make them happy for that moment, and them being so miserable, I don't think it's wrong.
But we're talking about not giving them shelter, though. I mean, that's what Giuliani's saying. He's saying.
Now, let's get real for a second here. That's the propaganda. Here's the reality. In New York City, where I live, it's the only city in the country that has shelter on demand, bed on demand. If you're homeless and you ask the city for a bed, they have to give it to you by law. New York City spends more money than any other city in the country on the homeless. 70% of the homeless are addicted either to drugs or alcohol. So when you give them $1, it makes you feel better, and it makes them feel better because most of them buy crack with it.
70%?
70%. 10%
Well, not
other
crack,
than that.
but liquor.
Or heroin.
Crack's a little passe.
All right, I'm sorry. I'm not up on the chic, not up on the chic drugs, but whatever they're getting high on, that's where the money's usually going.
Right.
So what you have here is you have a very complicated social problem that's been dumbed down by the irresponsible press into a war on the homeless.
Right.
Now, Giuliani doesn't want people in Manhattan coming up to people walking down the street with their family, demanding money or demanding to clean your windshield and be menacing. We just had a woman from Texas and New York get hit in the face with a brick by a homeless guy.
Well, that's anecdotal, but I think your point
That
is...
happened.
It does happen, yes, but most of them are not violent.
But
But
you
the
have
point...
to be walking right there with a brick.
I know. I mean, did you have to be in the middle
The
of
people
this?
that are acting out like that, they're crazy, and they need more help than just like...
Yeah, they do.
They probably wouldn't even be able to hold down a job.
The problem is that they don't want help, some of them. And
Right.
if you were to, you have to, in this
they
society...
That is very,
But
very,
it's so
very,
true. That's what nobody will say, is that they deliberately want to be where they
on the
are
street.
instead of
Bill
a
is
better situation.
Where
Well,
are these
a lot-
blanket statements coming from, though?
80%, according to
Where are you getting these
Mitchell
statistics?
Rosenthal, the president of Phoenix House, the big rehab center, 80% of the people that he sees go back out on the street because they want to be there. I mean, these are sociological studies. Bill is right. These people aren't, the majority of people in America can get a job, can work, and put a roof over their heads. The people who can, I think we should all pity, but they have problems. And the only way to solve the problems is to force them into rehab, which is now not being done, or let them do whatever they want to do and just go to San Francisco to see how that's worked.
I don't know why, but some people just want to be miserable. More miserable than it would seem to us that's being, if they're offering...
Hey, I know that. I mean, I've gone to a party with my relatives. I know who wants to be miserable. Yeah, right.
Yeah, but you don't have to stay.
If you're offering shelter on demand and someone is refusing that, what does that say? It's crazy.
Well, let's look at the other 20 or 30% of the people. How are they going to suffer if they're already suffering enough hardship? How about, you know, women who are taking care of several children and have no husband there, and basically that's their situation immediately. Are you going to throw them out because...
They have a right to shelter in New York City.
Right, but the question
No, but
is
that,
now...
according to
it's about,
Giuliani...
making them work for the shelter.
If you're
Who decides
able-bodied...
whether they're
Yeah.
able-bodied, able-minded people?
In New York, the law that Giuliani proposes, if you're a single man or a woman without children, you have to work for the bed. But if you have children and you're a woman, you don't. See, this is the press propaganda. The left press throws this out. Nobody really concentrates on, oh, that Giuliani, that fascist dog. I'm not saying that he's the most compassionate guy in town. Hillary Clinton is.
Use that fight
But
right there.
he's done a very good job in providing services for the homeless. It's a fact.
No, I think this is all a very well well-crafted scheme to get people to be in the production of Cats. I think it's forcing people to work in that show.
All right, we got to take a break. We'll be right back.